Ao longo da história do transporte motorizado, o automobilismo sempre esteve na vanguarda da inovação e dos avanços da tecnologia. Ideias pioneiras foram levadas ao limite durante corridas, mas será que isso ainda acontece nos dias de hoje? Na era atual de regras cada vez mais restritas e tetos de gastos, será que o esporte a motor ainda serve para testar a tecnologia dos carros do futuro? Aqui no circuito de Yas Marina, em Abu Dhabi, um novo evento faz exatamente isso: utilizar o automobilismo para desenvolver tecnologias de vanguarda. Estamos falando de ideias pioneiras que podem ter um impacto fundamental tanto na pista quanto nas ruas. Além disso, quem vencer a disputa leva um prêmio de simplesmente $2.250.000. Seja bem-vindo à A2RL. Mas afinal, do que se trata essa A2RL? Bom, é a sigla em inglês para a Liga das Corridas Autônomas de Abu Dhabi. Como fã de automobilismo e amante de carros, a palavra autônomo me dá certo arrepio. Já ouvimos falar desse tipo de evento antes, mas me disseram que essa categoria é bem diferente. O que é a A2RL?
A2RL stands for the Abu Dhabi Autonomous Racing League, which was established by our company Aspire, part of the Advanced Technology Research Council here in Abu Dhabi. And the mission of the Advanced Technology Research Council is to bring about the transformation and diversification of the economy of Abu Dhabi through research and development. And the A2RL is a challenge. We mount these big challenges where we want to solve big problems, and in big challenges we want to bring brains from all over the world and crowdsource talent in order to help us solving big challenges.
Por que essa categoria montada agora, depois de um momento que a gente viu categorias autônomas não dando certo ou não saindo do papel?
We're committed to the longer term. We knew that when we started this, first of all, we have a mission. We believe that autonomous technology, when properly deployed into human-driven cars, can bring about greater safety on our roads, reduce accidents, reduce fatalities. Secondly, in order to do the experimentation on the scale we're going to do it, you have to crowdsource talent from all over the world. So when we started talking to the teams last year, we said, we're having a race this year, but we guarantee both this prize pot and at least one race every year for 4 years.
Como as equipes são escolhidas e como elas são montadas?
Our sister organization here, Technology Innovation Institute, has an advanced robotics research center, and it has connections with some of the best robotics and AI centers in the world. So we obviously reached out to them in the first instance. And then through our own background research, we identified where is the talent in robotics and AI throughout the world, and we opened conversations. So the first necessary condition is they could code. But that wasn't a sufficient condition. They really had to know how to do it in the real world and how to apply it in extreme sports, and particularly extreme sports of the quality of motor racing.
Como é estruturada a competição? É largada até a bandeira quadriculada ou tem alguma coisa a mais?
What has happened before in other attempts at autonomous racing is you've done fastest lap, you've done 2 cars on a track together attacking and defending, and we will have all of that. But what we're also pushing to get is to up to 4 cars racing together on a track. Never been done before, never had 4 cars on a track together before. So, you know, in terms of each race, we need to go incrementally beyond where it's gone before.
Esse é o ano 1 do projeto. Qual a expectativa de crescimento daqui para frente e quão de longo prazo é o financiamento?
So for the next 4 years, we're going to have a guaranteed race here in Abu Dhabi with the same prize purse. But our objective is to have 3 races per year in steady state. We would like the second and third races to be international. So our working plan at the moment is one on an iconic track in Europe and the second in Asia. So our outline plan at the moment is to have 2 races in 25 and by 26 to have the 3 races. But in addition to motor racing, A2RL is not just about motor racing. It's about autonomous mobility on land, air, and sea. So we will be announcing our first autonomous drone race, which will be happening next year, and we'll be announcing that over the weekend. And then we hope to, after that, also have autonomous off-road buggy racing, and then moving to autonomous water-based activity. It's always driven by a societal use case, but then based on the platform of extreme sport as a way of demonstrating the capability of the technology, but also bringing the public in to see what's done. And to that end, this weekend, the public are going to be able to engage in the race here at the event, where we'll have over 10,000 people joining us. but also online through a new app we've developed. If they have goggles, they can actually hop into the car and have a VR experience.
Como a indústria do automobilismo e principalmente a indústria automotiva tem recebido essa iniciativa?
We have a conference the day after the event where we are bringing all our industry partners in to talk about the future. So we're looking at the innovation cycle in motorsport and how you integrate autonomy development into that. In terms of that VR and online experience, we have partners from Sony and NVIDIA coming in our conference to actually discuss the future of how we can actually gamify what's happening here and how that can lead to not just gaming but also other sort of educational type uses, how you will in the future teach coding, for example. And what we're going to set every year is we're going to set where are the open technology questions that need to be addressed? How can we use the race and how we design the race to test that technology and demonstrate its capability, in particular for how we could get used in road transportation. So, you know, all the time it's two-handed, and that's why we call it A2RL. It's A squared. It's about sport and it's about science sitting side by side and pushing forward both the frontiers of technology development, but also its application and the acceptance by the public that this is a technology they just will not accept, but demand in their cars.
Bem, agora que sabemos mais sobre a categoria, vamos dar uma olhada nos carros que são utilizados. Basicamente, o que temos aqui é o modelo da Lara usado na Super Fórmula japonesa, com pequenas alterações. O carro tem o nome de EAV24 e a carroceria é fabricada a partir de materiais sustentáveis biocompostos, numa mistura de fibra de carbono e fibra de linho. O projeto também é feito para acoplar a unidade de percepção autônoma, além de atuadores, sensores, computadores e toda a tecnologia que permite que ele funcione de maneira autônoma. O carro tem um motor de 2 litros e 4 cilindros em linha, além de injeção direta, turbocharger e um intercooler acoplado à caixa de câmbio, de 6 marchas. A suspensão é push-rod na dianteira e na traseira, com barra de torção com mola, além de amortecedores ajustáveis. As pinças de freio são Brembo, com discos de carbono também na Brembo, ativados eletroidraulicamente. Os pneus são o modelo Yokohama Advan. Bom, é um verdadeiro carro de corrida, mas vamos focar agora no que permite que ele funcione de maneira autônoma sem a presença de um piloto. O carro é equipado com 7 câmeras que dão visão 360 graus e 3 sistemas LiDAR. Mas que sistema é esse? LiDAR, na sigla em inglês, abrevia Light Detection and Range, ou seja, detecção e alcance de luz, na tradução livre. Então, basicamente, é um método de sensoriamento remoto, que usa luz na forma de pulsos de laser para medir as distâncias variáveis entre objetos. Esse sistema, aliado às câmeras, cria uma versão de dados do ambiente ao redor do carro. Traduzindo, a informação visual e das luzes é mapeada e processada num motor de percepção, que dá ao carro uma noção de onde ele está em relação a todo o resto. Ou seja, em relação a tudo que está na pista e ao circuito propriamente dito. Toda essa informação é processada na unidade de percepção autônoma, que funciona como o cérebro do carro. Esse cérebro tem 2 componentes, o planejador e o controlador. O planejador decide qual ação executar e passa o comando ao controlador. O controlador, então, é responsável por fazer o carro se mover, acelerando, desacelerando, virando, etc. Assim, a competição entre as equipes consiste em fazer todos esses aspectos funcionarem em ótima harmonia. Se você tem um sistema LiDAR melhor, seu carro tem uma percepção melhor. Se você tem um componente planejador melhor, seu carro toma decisões melhores. Se você tem um controlador melhor, seu carro tem mais precisão nos movimentos feitos. E as equipes, quais são e qual o papel delas? Estamos aqui com o Lakmal, do Team Eagle. Lakmal, de onde você vem e qual o seu papel no evento?
Right. I'm Lakmal Senaviratne. I'm the director of the Center for Robotics and Autonomous Systems at Khalifa University here in Abu Dhabi. And we have a joint team, Khalifa University and the Beijing Institute of Technology. It's called Team BIT. And I'm taking part as the director of the lab in the team. So we organized at Khalifa University this competition called the Mohammed bin Zayed International Robotics Challenge, MBZIRC. The first event was in 2017, second one in 2020. I was the technical director of this. In 2024, Aspire took over this competition. BIT came first in Challenge 1 in 2017 and 2020. But we, of course, couldn't compete then because we were organizing the competition. But in 2024, a couple of months ago, we had a joint team with BIT, Team Fly Eagle. We took part in this, so because of our reputation, Aspire invited us to take part in this competition. So that's a long answer to your short question.
Quantas pessoas você tem na equipe e qual o papel delas?
So we have a large team between BIT and Khalifa University, probably about up to 40 people working in this challenge, about 25 from BIT and about 15 from Khalifa University. As you know, robotics is a very multidisciplinary team, science. So we have people working in perception, that is sensing, people working in control, people working in planning, in localization. So there are different groups, and then there's system integration. So these are some of the typical areas of robotics that this team will be working on.
E quais são os principais desafios dos carros autônomos e particularmente das corridas autônomas?
Right, so our labs, we specialize in robot autonomy, and robot autonomy is very hard even in the lab. So that's doing things without any humans in the loop. But when you come to the real world, I mean, this is not entirely the real world. It's very, very, very difficult. Why is it difficult? Because the environment is uncertain, a lot of uncertainty here. It's also speed as well, right? So these are really difficult challenges. I mean, if you go out into the real world, we don't see that many robots. The reason is because it's a very hard problem. But if we can solve these problems, and these competitions help us to solve them, then I think the benefits will be huge, both economic benefits and societal benefits.
E isso pode ser uma simplificação excessiva, mas vocês programaram o carro. Então, ele faz apenas o que vocês programaram ou ele tem diferentes cenários? Ele pode tomar decisões próprias?
So the car, I think the answer is yes to both, because this is not an entirely unknown scenario. So we know the route, we know what we have to do, but the car has to make decisions as well, particularly in challenge 2 and 3, but even in challenge 1. I mean, so for example, one of the things we've experienced here is loss of signal. So if there's a loss of signal, then what do you do? If we are approaching some unforeseen barrier, then what do you do? So there's a lot of planning and decision making that happens in real time. So the answer is a combination of both. Yes.
E do ponto de vista educacional, o que a sua equipe e as outras estão aprendendo nesse projeto?
So that's a really good question. I think one of the biggest contributions of these competitions is educational. You can see about 40 people working, they are PhD students, master students, undergraduate students, and what they learn here in practice is impossible to teach in the class. You learn all the problems that real-world robotics has and what they have to focus in the future to be useful engineers. So it's a fantastic learning opportunity. I envy them. I wish I could have done this when I was a student.
Bem interessante ver o que acontece nesse evento, não é? Qual o limite da tecnologia em projetos como esse? Será que as corridas autônomas vão finalmente virar um esporte de engenharia extrema? Bom, a gente vai saber mais em alguns dias, quando o primeiro evento da A2RL acontecer. A gente vai transmitir ele ao vivo aqui nesse site. Mas, antes disso, acho que eu devo abordar a questão mais delicada de todas elas. Vamos ao Dr. Tom.
We don't want to sort of take the gladiator out of the car, right? But what we do want to do is we want to use the autonomous approach as a supplement to what's done already. It's not either or, it's both and is what we're kind of get there. But what's really stunned us, even myself included, is how well the cars perform. And when we bring people in and they look and they say, how is it that there's not a driver in this? It's astonishing what can be achieved. And so the first up, you actually see, this is really, really super, what can be achieved. People worry that it'll become boring. The great thing about a gladiatorial event is the human factor. And people say, isn't this going to be boring? It's all going to be the same. Well, it's not, you see, because while the car is programmed to go by a human and it will learn from continuing to drive on the track, that DNA of the human coder will always be in it. So the preference for a risk and the approach to taking an opportunity to pass or not is always back to the human.